Welcome into the 615 Sessions podcast. We got the main man, TD, Ran Davenport of ESPN.com. Of course, the Talking with TD podcast, a must listen this time of year, not just because it's draft season, my guy, but because free agency is going at a rapid pace everywhere in the league. But here, it seems it's pretty steady so far in the last couple of days.
Yeah, it has been pretty steady. I guess we're looking at the Ross and TJ Maxx shopping list as opposed to Nordstrom and Neiman Marcus in those spots.
Something like that. TJ Maxx is a good way to put it. Although, don't sleep on TJ Maxx. I know you are somebody who understands the ability to find a value at a spot like TJ Maxx. You can put something together. I believe in your prowess.
That's right. Hey, look. You get plenty sweats from there, man. That's where I get all my sweatpants. Under $20. Can't beat it.
No question. Well, I don't know if Ran Carthon's shopping for sweatpants, a hoodie, or something in between, but so far the moves have been pretty functional, I think, is a way to describe them. When you look at the different players that they've acquired, just going down the list, Andre Dillard. Although important to note that a lot of these, as we tape this on a Thursday afternoon about 2:00 Central Time, we have not seen any signings made official by the club, even though we are officially in the new league year. So Andre Dillard, the reported deals, Luke Gifford, Aziz Al-Shaair. You have now NWI coming back on a one-year deal, and Arden Key, as well as Daniel Brunskill, the versatile offensive lineman from the 49ers. So I guess so far, Tehran, based on what we have, I know it's not necessarily a complete picture, but what have you kind of made of the moves that the Titans have made thus far?
Yeah, I think the common thread in all of that is opportunity. These are all guys who are looking for an opportunity, and they should be able to get that with the Titans. Luke Gifford, if you remember Todd Archer's report, the Dallas Cowboys staff, they had said that they felt like he could be primed for more opportunities on defense, but you're stuck behind Leighton Vander Esch and Michael Parsons. It's not exactly easy to get on the field with those guys. And just the same, Aziz Al-Shaair, he's the guy stuck behind Fred Warner and Dre Greenlaw. But when he got a chance to play, he showed and proved really well. And I think, replacing him with David Long with him, very similar players. So, yeah, it's all about opportunities. You look at Dillard, had the situation with Jordan Mailata. It was a Jeff Stoutland project, and I challenge anybody to go out and look at Mailata's YouTube videos of his rugby stuff. Yeah, you will want that guy at left tackle too, after being able to mold him the way that Stoutland did. So there's a lot to the situation there. And Greenlaw, he kept, like I said, Al-Shaair from playing. So it's a good opportunity for all these guys.
Speaking of opportunity, we got the opportunity to add a third. We got Steve Lehman of News Channel 5 hopping on with us right now in the middle of the live 615 sessions. If I don't botch the layout situation, sorry, boys. I'm learning new technology around here. Steve, it's good to see you, my guy.
I think it's muted.
Oh, his audio's terrible. No, Steve, you got you got the video portion, but now we can't hear you. Oh, I don't know what's going on with Lehman. We'll continue the
Terry
discussion.
McCormick is his tech support.
No. Is Terry? I mean, Terry's the worst of us, right? Like, just generally when it comes to technology, like I don't think there's anybody at this stage in Titans media worse than Terry. But we'll see what Steve can figure out, and we'll continue the discussion in the meantime. Aziz Al-Shaair, Tehran, is somebody who I really liked the idea of them signing prior to them doing so. And you mentioned the opportunity that he got behind Dre Greenlaw, specifically with the injuries that San Francisco was having to deal with.
Yeah.
In their 2021 season, Dre Greenlaw did play a good amount of the snaps last year. But even in their base defense, Al-Shaair is the third linebacker in that situation. And plenty of experience, reportedly a 1 year up to $6 million deal, which is, I think, ideal. And, I know a lot of Titans fans been out of shape about the idea of losing David Long, but that seems to be as close to a plug and play replacement as you can find, just, somebody who Ran Carthon is a little more familiar with.
Yeah, and I think when you watch him, the thing I like about him is he'll come up, he'll take on the fullback, take on the line or the lineman, and throw him out the way and make the tackle. He flows to the football really well. He's very similar to David Long in that he has that GPS for the football, and then he arrives with violent intentions. You want that out of your inside backer, your middle backer. I think Long is a little bit better at kind of weaving around blocks, but rest assured, Alshire is going to get there and make the play. And also in coverage, too, that's something that has to be noted. He does a good job in zone, where there are times where you see him kind of covering two routes, right? Not getting high load when they flood to that side. So it's a good signing, really good signing. Just want to see, how he's going to be able to show and prove this year, and will that lead to a bigger deal next year and going forward.
All right, you want to give Layman another shot here? You want to try it?
Fire it up.
All right, Steve, give me something here. What do you got? Ah, damn it.
Is it muted?
I don't know. I can see, it's funny because I can hear him, but it's like very, very low. Do you have like a volume function you're not using properly or something like that? I don't know if you got a mic and just hanging out. It's probably see, I heard that when he's taking a shot at me about it being a 615 sessions problem, but I got to really, really listen. All right, buddy, we may give you a rain check because I don't know what it is that's going on here, but for the purposes of the conversation, I may have to get back with you if that's okay. Thanks, Steve. Steve Layman, News Channel 5, ladies and gentlemen, for the audience watching on YouTube, Facebook Live, Twitter, and Twitch. So positional versatility, we know that's something they've always valued. And I think both Brunskill, I mean, you talk about, for example, special teams with Luke Gifford and the reporting from Todd Archer, as you mentioned, that Cowboys coaching staff thinks that he can be a player with a more elevated role on defense, TD. Brunskill, who's played basically every position along the offensive line and started two positions for the San Francisco 49ers at this point over the course of his career there. And then Arden Key, who gave this team absolute hell when he was in Jacksonville last year. I think that when you talk about the amount of different things that they want to do on their front seven, particularly when they get into third down and want to start playing games, I think Arden Key makes so much sense. And he basically signed the Danico Autry deal.
Yeah, it's a really reasonable deal there with Arden Key. And I think, one thing that goes kind of under the radar is losing DeMarcus Walker. I thought that he was a really good edge guy, as well as able to bump inside and give you a pass rush from the interior side of it. You still have versatility in Arden Key. And in my opinion, Arden Key is more of a replacement of Bud Dupree than DeMarcus Walker, whereas he could stand up and rush the passer, and you play that edge position that way. You can get him down. You go even fronts, hand in the dirt, and he could give you that. But I think he's more suited as a stand-up guy, and that's where you saw him do a lot of his damage. So that's a really good signing. He brings a lot of juice off the edge, and it's another situation where it's like, okay, what are you going to do with this opportunity? Because, he was stuck behind Josh Allen and Trayvon Walker there in Jacksonville, but got opportunities occasionally. But this is going to be a full scale. You're one of the guys.
What do we know about him, Teron? Because I know that he was drafted by the Raiders. Things didn't necessarily pan out there. He had 1 year in San Francisco and then 1 year with the Jags. I don't know much about Arden Key. I don't know how much you know beyond what we've seen on tape study and obviously playing against the Titans with two different teams at this point. But I do find it curious that he's bounced around the way that he has. I know he hasn't quite realized his potential. He had one really strong year at LSU and was kind of looked at in that draft process, I remember, as potentially being like the next great LSU defensive player, right? But since then, this seems like a great opportunity for him, and he's seemingly put it together in the last couple of seasons. But I'm curious about just him generally without knowing the individual just yet.
Yeah, I think a big part of him is situations, right? So he came in, he made 10 starts with the Raiders, and they had him a lot and just like down as a down lineman. And when you have a guy like Key, you could put him there at times, but you want him standing up and rushing the passer that way. And you look at San Francisco, 2021, he got into the right scheme, and all of a sudden he got unlocked. And then this past year with Jacksonville, situational pass rusher, you saw what he did to Dennis Daly in that season for now. So yeah, there's a lot to make with him. He's not a big guy. I think he's like 6'3", 240 something in
Right.
that range. And that to me that's ideal coming off the edge and rushing the passer that way.
Yeah, I'm curious to know what you think it says so far about the direction that we're heading in, because there's still a couple of moves that, or a couple of cards that they have yet to play if they so choose, and a couple of different reports that have been swirling around the NFL news cycle. We'll do that in just a second, right after I remind the audience that the 615 Sessions podcast is presented by Two Rivers Ford. Two Rivers Ford is always where you go for quality American-made Ford vehicles and award-winning customer service. Nobody does it better than the folks at Two Rivers Ford, and they will make sure that you have whatever you like, no matter how you want to shop, whether it's online, the way that I did, and custom order your next Ford, or on the dealership. Two Rivers Ford in Mount Juliet, or online at tworiversford.com. So Marvin on Facebook Live, Tehran, says, what happens to Kevin Byard in these coming days will tell it all with what direction this team is going. And so we have the free agency class thus far, and we have a couple of these reports regarding two of the three players that they can make money moves around, right? Whether it's, sorry, I'm getting a phone call. Whether it's Derrick Henry and the report initially from Mike Silver that they were shopping him. Then there was reports refuting that from Jonathan Jones and Albert Breer, saying that they had not actively shopped Derrick, but they had been taking calls on him. And then a note from Mike Lombardi on the GM Shuffle podcast saying that Kevin Byard had been asked to take a pay cut and that they were working through the process of that right now, and all options were on the table with the veteran Titan safety. Do you think that we have yet to see a move with one of these Titan star players? Because I haven't seen any reporting, haven't heard anything rumor mill wise around Ryan Tannehill, and everything that they've done so far is everything that we all knew that they had to do. All of the obvious moves have been made, and now it gets to the difficult part of, I feel.
Yeah, with Tannehill, anything that I'm trying to dig up it's been shut down. So right. It seems like that's going to be the guy under center. As far as Henry's concerned, like you said, there's conflicting reports. I haven't really gotten much in regards to one way or the other, to be honest with you. And Kevin Byard, I highly, highly doubt that he would be released. I highly doubt that would be the case, as some have asked. The pay cut side of things, I don't know that it's a much of a pay cut as it is a haircut. Shifting money around, that's really the main thing, and getting some money pushed up to the front of the contract to kind of tweak the salary cap side of things. I could see them doing that. You have Harold Landry and I believe Amani Hooker are guys that could have their deals tweaked as well. So I don't think asking him to restructure, I don't think that's necessarily meaning that they want to move on or anything like that. And if you think about it, why would they want to move on? Kevin Byard he's not an old player. He's a veteran, and he's productive. And we already know his presence in the locker room. You look at how he spoke after the Jaguars game. You look at how he spoke throughout that whole 7-game losing streak. It was remarkable the way he stood up at his locker every time, sometimes for 20-plus minutes, all the way up until time to go to meetings, and he's still speaking. So I don't think that that's something that you want to remove from your team, regardless of if you're turning the page on most of the roster.
Well, and the way, several moments, we know what kind of player KB is. You and I have covered, I think his rookie year was was Kevin the draft class before Derek or after?
I
I want to
believe
say
it was
before.
before. I want to say before.
Either way, you and I have covered the bulk of KB's career, and we know what kind
Yeah,
of player he is and how productive he still can be. I mean, hell, he basically tried to will them single-handedly to a win in Dallas or with Dallas here in on the Thursday night football game, and
yeah, yeah,
still able to was it felt almost a little bit like 2020 where things around him were falling apart. He had to kind of overcompensate for whether there was a missed assignment here that you have to try and move around and take yourself out of position to make sure that there wasn't a bigger bust than had already occurred or something like that. Like that, it was kind of reminiscent of Kevin's 2020 season where a lot of the criticism around him was, oh, KB's having a bad season, having a terrible season, all these other things. And then you look around him and you're like, I mean, are you seeing the players that he's out there trying to organize?
yeah.
It had 2020 Titans defense vibes towards the back end.
Yeah, that secondary it left a lot to be desired. So, with a 32nd in pass defense,
Yeah.
and some of that does have to do with up front. I mean, I will say that, but there were times that guys were getting beat. I mean, you look at the Eagles game, each of the corners, they fell victim to touchdown passes. So that's just an example.
Yeah, circling back to Ryan Tannehill before we talk about what they've done at receiver so far and players that they've what potentially could be in line now that we have a little clearer picture with the draft up ahead. You bring up Ryan Tannehill and you doing reporting around it, not hearing anything of consequence as far as him being moved. I want to play a clip of Ran Carthon at the Combine on the radio show talking about Ryan Tannehill and a question, Teron, that I asked him about Malik Willis and unprompted, he brought up Tannehill as a part of this. And I think that, it's easy to kind of hear words from people like Ran Carthon in that moment and just say, oh, well, he doesn't mean that. It's this what people say or whatever around the quarterback situation. But the further we get into this thing, it does seem like they are entrenched with Ryan Tannehill, at least for one more season, as their starting quarterback. Here's the clip.
When it comes to Ryan, like Ryan's done a great job. Ryan's won a ton of games. I already saw pass on one of the screens, that I said Ryan is a Titan. He's going to be here forever or whatever. The little caption.
I mean, Ran, I'm telling you, I have DMs on Instagram right now. Do you think Ran Carthon's comments on Tannehill is a commitment to him for this year as our quarterback? Like that's how the news cycle works.
Well, I would just say from a news cycle perspective, whoever said that he wasn't going to be here? Mike's never said that. Amy's never said that. No one's ever heard me say that. So I'd like to constantly answer this question around Ryan's status. I personally don't think it's fair to him, and that's why I said that in my press conference. Ryan's under contract. No one from our side has ever said he wasn't going to be here. So that narrative was created outside of our building, and so in my mind, I don't feel there's a need to even answer it.
Sure.
And because in all fairness, I didn't ask you your contract status.
It's a contract year. we could talk.
You know what I mean? And so, I want to be mindful and respectful, of Ryan and where he is. And, again, I know this is a tough time for him, maybe a tough time for his family. But Ryan is under contract, and so I don't feel like – I honestly don't care to or don't want to constantly answer questions about Ryan's status and other players on our team status. Like I've said before, like we're not going to negotiate in public.
Yeah.
We're not going to do that. We're going to keep family business in the family, and when we're ready to make an announcement, we will. And that's how we're going to be.
Titans general manager Ran. Lip service or truth to power there, TD?
No, I think that's real talk because he said very similar to that at the Combine at the podium. And the big thing that I pulled from that and what I heard before when he spoke is the fact that the Tannehill being gone is not coming from inside the building. It's not. And you can sense some frustration there. You sense some frustration when he spoke, as far as when he said, let me speak on it for a second? Something along those lines he said.
Right.
And he was like, Ryan is under contract. And then he went
It
into
was all but a
being
grab the
excited
mic
about,
moment and was like, hey, listen here.
yeah. And he was like, I'm excited about, moving forward with him. So really, I highly doubt that it's something that happens. And again, everything that I've been told, from talking to people there, it's not in the plans to move.
I would echo that sentiment at this point, and certainly Aaron Rodgers seemingly committing to the Jets would remove one, maybe not. I don't know.
He said, I came out of the darkness and I found out something different. I was like, this dude is he's a trip, man.
Hey, man, but like, you know what? Like, as somebody who works in this business, I so respect the ability to just completely single-handedly take over the biggest news cycle in sports. It's big. March Madness is going on right now. NFL free agency dwarfs it. And the only thing that dwarfs NFL free agency is a 3-time MVP at quarterback who wants to take a psychedelic darkness retreat, come out the other side and tell you whether he wants to retire or play for the Jets. Like, it's annoying. It's super annoying, but I respect it.
Yeah, got to.
They bring back NWI on a 1-year deal. Jimmy just reported that transaction is official. Jimmy White of the team's website. So NWI, it looked like, was prepared to test the market after getting a tender situation. Comes back to the Titans on a 1-year deal. The receiving core is still going to look different. No Robert Woods. We know that they have Treylon Burks, Kyle Phillips, and Racing McMath under contract. Ideally, what we know of the players who occupy those spaces right now and their skill sets, what is it that the Titans need to add with at least one draft pick, if not two?
Yeah, well, at least one draft pick. They have to get speed on the outside. They have to get someone that could vertically stretch the field, especially when they work those play actions. Look at the Ravens game in the playoffs, the divisional round. Look at that one. Remember that play action pass and Cleve Raymond caught the post? Like, that just shut stuff down. It was basically over from that point. They need somebody to be able to do that, and that will open up things underneath as well, as far as Treylon Burks on that strike route and those type of things. Someone has to be a threat over top, and that's why I'm telling you, we touched on it before we got on here. I think Cincinnati wide receiver Tyler Scott in the 3rd round would be a perfect match for them. Speed guy. He's not big, but he's a junior Olympic track runner, and he's very disciplined as far as how he uses that speed on those deep routes. You see him where he's tracking the ball and he's running, and once the ball is here, then he catches it, late hands, and he doesn't lose speed. In fact, when the ball's in the air, he has another gear. He will be a perfect fit for them, but they also need a veteran receiver.
Yeah.
They need, whether it's Marvin Jones, DJ Shark, one of those types that can come in and kind of steer the ship, so to speak, whereas show Treylon Burks each day how to be a pro. And that's what the value of Robert Woods was. But obviously at that number, they weren't going to keep him around.
No, he signs in Houston on a 2-year deal that was in total cash worth as much as the 1 year that he was going to make this year had they kept him under contract. To your point about Treylon Burks, Teron, and veteran wide receivers, like that, I think is something that the coaching staff and at least talking to Mike Vrabel about it, I'm sure you've had similar conversations where they felt legitimately good about the progress that Treylon had made, about how he approaches his work, how he goes about his day-to-day. Things like being a pro, I think, kind of start to wash over fans after a certain while, because you've heard it so many times over and over again with all kinds of different teams and all kinds of different sports and different scenarios. But still, like, there is value there that you cannot undermine. And I think that, while NWI is all well and good, and it's somebody with institutional knowledge and who would be considered a veteran at this point, there needs to be an additional perspective for both Kyle Phillips and Treylon Burks. Racing McMath, for all we know. I don't know how much time he's actually been able to spend around his teammates because of the amount of time that he's had dealing with injuries. We know those guys are around. We don't see them necessarily during locker room availability and things like that. But it is a different dynamic when you've missed as much time as this current young wide receiver group has.
Right, and that's been the main issue. Whereas, yeah, you're right. Westbrook McKinney is essentially the veteran of the group, but when you have a guy that's really been there and done that, like a Marvin Jones, the conversation, the way that you take it, the way that you receive it is a lot different. So having him in the room would be a lot better, whether it's him, Miko Hardman, DJ Shark, those types. So you're right, that leadership side of it is a big part, and just to have that veteran in the receiver room to give different perspective and help out from that way. And that's not to put a slight on Rob Moore, because I think he's an outstanding receiver coach, and we watch what he does with these guys every day, and you see stuff transfer into the games. So it's just different when you have one of your teammates there as well guiding.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think people got a really good idea, and it was a small sample size, and I know it was an ad, but like that FedEx commercial that AJ Brown did with Rob Moore, I mean, you can tell how big an impact that somebody like Rob Moore has on a guy like AJ, or potentially Traylon, Kyle Phillips, whatever the case may be, because that's the coach that they're going to spend the vast majority of their time with while they're around the facility. He is Teron Davenport. ESPN.com is where you read all the great work that he does on the Titans. The Talking with TD podcast. It is prospect season on the Talking with TD podcast. Teron has the best interviews this week. Joshua Reed, Tanner Morgan, and Trey Tucker on Wednesday's episode, as well as our buddy Chris Sanders. I haven't talked to Chris Sanders in a long time. That's the main man, but he does a great job each week with TD.
Yeah, he's a trip, man. Our segment is hilarious. Run TMC, man. Guarantee you'll crack up at least 3 times.
There is no question. Subscribe, rate, and review wherever you get your podcast. Ron, it's always good to see you, my guy. Fun to hang out a little bit in Indy. We all survived the Kirby Allen Kirby experience, and are I don't know if we're better, I don't know if we're worse for it, but Kirby tried to get me today. He tried to get me today. I
came out of the combine a big fan of Kirby, that's for sure, man.
Well, this man is a different kind of animal, but I'm glad that everybody else gets a little exposure, and it's not just. Thanks for hanging out, TD.